This is Dr. James with HelpMommy.com. If you like these videos, please check out our full website at HelpMommy.com. It's completely free. Like, follow, share this with your friends. If you like the way I teach, please check out my book. It's called The Big Book of Why for Parents. It's on Amazon. Would love to have you pick that up and read it and help you with your kids. I will tell you, the number one purchaser of that book is me. I buy these books and I give them to every single one of my newborns because I believe it. I believe it was a great book. I believe it helps parents. And to be honest, it cuts down on the number of phone calls I get because these are a big source of phone calls of parents who have questions. So check that out. I was asked about silent reflux, and silent reflux is just reflux. It's just GERD that the baby's just not spitting up. They still have all the other signs. And what's happening with this is stomach contents are coming up and they're able to burn the esophagus or cause, bad taste in their mouth, but you're not seeing them spit up constantly. But they're going to have pain when swallowing. They're going to have arching. They're going to have fussiness. And it's still GERD. It's the same thing as if they're spitting up all the time. And how do you treat it? Well, there's not very many things you can do. You can do things physically. And physical things are like using gravity so that your mouth is higher than your stomach, so that gravity pulls the stuff toward your stomach. So these babies, you may try and keep them upright for a longer period of time. Trying to decrease what would make them burp. So, burping them and seeing if that can help. Decreasing foods that make them burp. You could decrease the acid, and you could do that in one of two ways. You can just neutralize it. And that's going to be things as a big person you think of as like Tums or Rolaids or something like that. In kids, there is a Gaviscon that you can use that it's using things like magnesium, aluminum, things like that to decrease the acidity. The problem with this is that that's all it's doing. It's only working at the moment that you give it. And sometimes it can tend to cause constipation. This isn't something I use a lot in babies. The other thing you can do is decrease the production of acid. And you can do this by medicines like Pepcid, famotidine, which decreases acid production by about half. Or you can do it with proton pump inhibitors, which are going to decrease it by about 90, maybe a little over. Things like Prevacid, things like that. I prefer to start off with depressing the least amount of acid, and then if that doesn't work, go on to more. And then the other things is, if it's really severe, things like, thickening feeds, eating more solid foods. And the most severe thing is actually where you do a surgery where you wrap the upper part of the stomach around the lower part of the esophagus. This is only done in really, really extreme cases. And a lot of times it's usually like babies who have special needs, extremely preemie babies. A lot of times these babies have like G tubes and things like that. But that's really it. But a lot of these things you're going to need your pediatrician's help with. And if they brush you off, just remember the pediatrician is not at your house. They are only going to know what your story is based on what they can see, which we can't see much. We can see weight, we can follow growth patterns, we can look at your baby physically, but it's mainly your story. If your pediatrician isn't concerned about your baby, it probably comes down to how concerning the story was. So think about that before you get mad at your pediatrician. Now, on the other side, if your pediatrician is just not listening and you have a very concerning story, you may need to find a different pediatrician. But it's the story that tells us how severe this is and how concerned we need to do about doing things and then escalating that. So, tell your pediatrician the story. And if they give you some advice and it doesn't work, don't think that that's all there is. There are steps in this stuff. So if they did something and they told you, let's do frequent burping, let's thicken feeds, let's try and keep the baby upright for a longer period of time. And you go home and you do that and a week goes by and your baby's still miserable, don't just stop there. Go back and talk to your pediatrician, because then you need to go to the next step. And then you try that. And if that doesn't work again, you go back and you go to the next step. But the pediatrician themselves are not going to know that you need to go to the next step until you tell them the story. The story is very important. How miserable your child is. How is this affecting your household? What kind of hoops are you jumping through and this just isn't working and your baby's still miserable? You have to tell them that before they're going to know to get concerned. So whether you have silent reflux or they're just spitting up all over the place, it doesn't matter. If your baby's miserable, you need to talk to your pediatrician and get this under control.